Spies, lies, deception. The world of espionage is filled with incredible, mind-blowing stories. Today, we're diving into 7 of the most shocking spy cases in history. From a CIA spy cat to a double agent who fooled the US for 16 years, these real-life stories sound like something out of a movie. Get ready for an unbelievable journey into the world of spies. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's dive in. What if one man could trick an entire army without ever firing a shot? Meet Juan Pujol Garcia, the greatest double agent of World War II. Originally a Spanish businessman, Pujol despised both the Nazis and communists. He approached the British to offer his services as a spy, but was rejected. Undeterred, he faked his way into becoming a Nazi informant, feeding them completely fabricated intelligence. Once the British realized his potential, they recruited him as a double agent under the code name Garbo. Pujol built an entirely fictional spy network of 27 agents, tricking the Nazis into believing he was their most valuable asset. His biggest success was convincing Hitler that D-Day would happen in Pas-de-Calais, not Normandy. This deception delayed Nazi reinforcements, helping ensure the invasion's success. For his work, Germany awarded him the Iron Cross, while Britain gave him the Order of the British Empire, making him one of the only people ever honored by both sides in a war. After World War II, he faked his own death and lived in Venezuela in secret for decades. In the 1960s, the CIA attempted one of the most bizarre espionage projects in history. They turned a cat into a spy. Called Operation Acoustic Kitty, the plan was to implant a microphone, battery, and transmitter inside a cat, hoping it could eavesdrop on Soviet conversations undetected. After years of expensive research, the first spy cat was ready. On its first mission, the cat was released near a Soviet compound in Washington, D.C. But before it could get anywhere near the target, it was hit by a taxi and killed instantly. The experiment was a total failure. Despite spending millions of dollars, the CIA realized cats were impossible to train for spying. The project was quietly abandoned, and its files were declassified years later, revealing one of the strangest ideas in espionage history. During the Cold War, the U.S. used U-2 spy planes to secretly photograph Soviet military sites. These planes flew so high that the U.S. believed they were untouchable. But on May 1, 1960, that belief shattered. CIA pilot Francis Gary Powers was flying over Soviet airspace when his plane was shot down by a surface-to-air missile. He ejected, but was captured alive by Soviet forces. The U.S. initially lied, claiming it was just a weather research plane. But the Soviets had Powers and the wreckage, proving it was a spy mission. This led to a huge diplomatic crisis, and Powers was sentenced to 10 years in Soviet prison. But in 1962, he was exchanged for a captured KGB spy, Rudolf Abel, in a dramatic prisoner swap on a Berlin bridge. The U-2 incident shattered trust between the US and the USSR, worsening Cold War tensions. It was proof that espionage could escalate into global conflict in an instant. In 1953, a young newsboy in Brooklyn found a strange nickel that felt lighter than usual. When he accidentally dropped it, it cracked open, revealing a tiny piece of microfilm with a coded message inside. The FBI was baffled. They spent years trying to break the code but had no leads, until 1957, when a Soviet spy named Reino Heinonen defected to the US and exposed the truth. The message inside the nickel was meant for Rudolf Abel, a deep-cover KGB agent operating in the US. Abel had been secretly sending American military intelligence back to the Soviets. Thanks to Heinenen's defection, the FBI arrested Abel in 1957, leading to one of the biggest Cold War espionage cases in history. Abel was later exchanged for U-2 pilot Francis Gary Powers in 1962. The tiny nickel proved that even the smallest clues could unravel a massive spy network. Klaus Fuchs was a German physicist who worked on the top-secret Manhattan Project, helping the U.S. develop the world's first atomic bomb. But while building it, he was secretly giving nuclear secrets to the Soviet Union. Fuchs believed no single country should control nuclear weapons. Over the years, he passed detailed blueprints and formulas to Soviet agents, allowing them to develop their own bomb much faster than expected. In 1950, British intelligence finally caught him. He confessed immediately, knowing the damage was already done. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison, but served only 9. Thanks to Fuchs, the Soviet Union tested its first atomic bomb in 1949, just 4 years after the U.S. Hiroshima attack, much sooner than Western experts predicted. His betrayal changed the world, sparking the nuclear arms race and decades of Cold War paranoia. Sidney Riley, the so-called ace of spies, was a master of deception, working for British intelligence in the early 1900s. His daring missions took him across Europe, where he infiltrated governments, corporations, and military bases. His most famous operation took place in 1918 when he plotted to overthrow the Soviet government by assassinating Lenin and installing a pro-Western regime. But the plan failed, and Riley escaped Russia just in time. In 1925, the Soviets lured him back with a fake intelligence mission. The moment he crossed the border, he was captured by the KGB. After that, he was never seen again. The Soviets claimed they executed him, but his body was never found. Some say he survived and lived under a new identity, but the truth remains a mystery. Sidney Riley's life was so legendary that he became the inspiration for James Bond. But unlike Bond, his final fate remains an unsolved enigma. For 16 years, Ana Montes was one of the U.S. government's top intelligence analysts. But what no one knew was that she was secretly spying for Cuba the entire time. Montes worked at the Defense Intelligence Agency, with access to top-secret U.S. military operations. She passed highly classified information to Cuban intelligence, completely undetected. She was so skilled at covering her tracks that even after the FBI suspected a mole, it took years to identify her. She didn't use high-tech gadgets, just an ordinary shortwave radio, memorizing messages before destroying the evidence. Montes was finally arrested in 2001, just days after 9/11. Her spying had compromised U.S. security for over a decade, yet she only received 25 years in prison and was released in 2023. That concludes this video of 7 incredible spy stories. Let me know in the comments what topics you would like me to cover for a future video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support this channel. I'll see you in the next one.